Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, a podcast with one host about one console, Xbox. I am said host Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of February 13th, 2025, including a new report shows that things are not great at publisher WB Games right now. PlayStation's latest direct-style event showed new trailers and release dates for upcoming Xbox games. Here's a rumor about the next Xbox game that may be migrating off the platform, and more. On this day in this week, always forget to say week, in Xbox history in the year 2008, 17 years ago, Jumper, Griffin's Story was released for the Xbox 360. That's right, of course, the licensed movie game for the hit movie from 2008, Jumper. You know, the sci-fi action thriller, loosely based on a book, starring Hayden Christensen about a guy whose parents get murdered, but not like Batman, and then he can like jump through different jump points in time and climbs like a fucking pyramid in Egypt. Well, yeah, this is what frustrates me is we're in a time period now where there are so many good movies and TV shows and just IP in visual media that would easily, translate to like a nice licensed movie game. But instead of getting that kind of stuff today, we get nothing. We get absolutely nothing. But there was a time where we got so many of these things that we ran out of things. It was like, okay, we already made the Shrek video game. We already made the Spider-Man video game. We already made the Simpsons video game. What are we going to do next? Well, we're at the bottom of the barrel. Let's start scraping for Jumper, Griffin's Story for the Xbox 360. And that's how abundant these types of games were. And if you've been listening to the podcast for any number of years, you know I'm that sucker who really does miss, having grown up in the early 2000s, I really do have a soft spot and miss those really mid, like 5, 6 out of 10 kind of licensed movie tying games. Listen, if you were a kid in the early 2000s, you grew up on the N64, PS1 generation into the PS2, GameCube, Xbox generation, you had a lot of exposure to these kinds of games. And even if it wasn't like directly tied into a movie, it was always like just licensed games based on popular IP that weren't like so serious. It wasn't like Batman Arkham where it's like, we're going to need 8 years and $300 trillion to build this game. It's like, no. X-Men Apocalypse. Make this, Raven's going to make this game in like 9.5 months and it's going to be fucking awesome. And we're just going to, it's not the best game ever made, but it's going to be super fucking good if you're a Marvel fan. It's like, yeah, like let's do that again. I would like to cash in or refund, return a couple of Jumper Griffin stories if it would mean that I could get, a goddamn fucking Tron video game or something for the new movie that comes out this October. Like, for love of Christ, please bring us some budgety, cheap, interesting and unique, just fun, some are shit, some are great, some are in between kind of licensed video games. I think we sorely need it. And we'll talk about them a little bit later in the news because licensed games very much so do exist, especially if you're a Star Wars or Marvel IP. But oh my god, dude, it's like Wonder Woman is in development hell. It's like, okay, well, maybe not spend $46 trillion making a fucking Wonder Woman game. Maybe just make a fun game where you run around as Wonder Woman and lasso fucking serial rapists to make them say horrible things because they can't not tell the truth when she lassos them. What Wonder Woman would do is she would lasso like suburban dads into like spilling like their deepest, darkest secrets. Like, oops, I one time ran out of milk and my wife was being a real you-know-what and said, run to the store and get milk, but it was below 20 because we live in fucking Idaho. And so I just I poured Elmer's glue into my son's Cheerios, and he this fucking stupid ass kid didn't know the difference. And Wonder Woman would lasso him, and then he would have to admit these mistakes that he's made, and his wife would be so upset she would file for divorce, and that would be the game. That would be like the main gameplay mechanic would be to break up middle class American families because dads who make poor decisions. I would play this game. Wouldn't you play this game? It's not a 10 out of 10, but it's a game. I'd play it. All right, guys, welcome to the show. Tim R, the R does not stand for that offensive R word you think it stands for, writes in and says, hey, I just rated your podcast on the app Pocket Casts. Depressingly, I'm the first person there. I'm assuming it's a newer feature or something because I shouldn't be able to do, I shouldn't be the first to do anything. That being said, many people do just like, many people just don't know that they can rate podcasts on that app. In that case, I hope they get around to it so we can spread the tasty madness a bit more. Yeah, you just got a taste of my madness, that's for sure. Well, Tim R, first of all, thank you for writing in. Second of all, thank you for leaving a review on the podcast. And third, hey, I use Pocket Cast too. Pocket Cast is, nowadays, I used to use CastBox. Nowadays, I also use Pocket Cast. It's my go-to podcast app. I don't know, ever since I switched off of iPhone like 6 years ago, I'm always jumping through a different podcast service. So I just, because when you're on iPhone, it's like no brainer. Just use Apple Podcasts. It's a great app. It's built into the phone. What else are you going to use? It's the primary podcast app. I know a lot of people use Spotify now, but I like a separation of church and state, So I don't like listening to podcasts on Spotify because Spotify is where I go strictly for music. But Pocket Cast is a great app. That is where I go. And you know what's interesting, Tim R? The R does not stand for what you're thinking, you stupid, inappropriate. Listen, that hasn't been funny since the 90s. Don't say that word. But Tim, the thing I was thinking is I didn't know you could rate podcasts on Pocket Cast, an app I use for like 40 hours a week every fucking week. And so I went in after I read this comment and I said, oh my God, you can rate podcasts. And then I rated my podcast 5 stars because that's what you do when you're a starved artist. You give yourself 5 stars because it's better than nothing. And so now I'm the second person to ever rate my podcast on Pocket Casts. So there's probably only 2 reviews, but hey, I appreciate you doing it. And this is just a broader you hey, if you like the show, I don't really like starting a podcast out asking for a favor, but if you listen to the show, you like the show, maybe give it a review. Podcast services, particularly ones like Apple Podcasts, would be very helpful. It definitely helps boost us in the algorithm. Listen, I don't think this is going to be a top 10 Xbox podcast by any stretch of the imagination. I know there are actual people with like brands and reputations and YouTube channels and influence in the world who do Xbox podcasts. So just by nature of not being in that space, I never have a chance of cracking that top list. But it'd be nice to have my podcast at least be bigger than like the home ec enthusiast podcast or something. Like we can get it up there somewhat. There's enough people who love Xbox but hate high quality Xbox podcasts that I think we could get this podcast moved up the ranking just a bit. So if you have the audacity, I almost said, if you have the opportunity to do so, and I assume most of you do, please take a moment, rate the podcast. And as I always say, if you're thinking about leaving a review that is anything less than 5 stars, whoa, buddy, let me save you the trouble. Just don't leave a review. I don't need a 3-star or 4-star review. I don't need to know what I could do to make the show a little better. I don't really give a shit about constructive criticism or nice feedback. I just really want to be told I'm doing great and that you're an idiot if you don't listen to the podcast. So unless you're really going to say something like that, save yourself the hassle. Just move on, go to Burger King and order a Whopper and then realize that Burger King only tastes good like 40% of the time you order it and then have immediate regret and also just feel like shit because that food's not going to make you feel good. Let's be honest. All right, guys, we got some new games coming out, notable games coming out this week. Let's easier one because I don't care. I know a lot of people care. I don't care. Sid Meier's Civilization 7 is out as of the time you're listening to this podcast. It's optimized for Series S and X. If you're a big world strategy, world building, whatever. What the hell? Get that shirt off. Not the shirt I'm wearing, the shirt that's on my chair. If you're into those kinds of games, I know this is a big deal. People are interested. Civ games, they do quite well. I don't care about these games, so I'm just not going to act like I have anything to say about it beyond, hey, it's out, it's there. The other game that's coming out, kinda asterisk, this week, as of the day you're listening to this podcast, if you pre-ordered the deluxe edition or you're a Game Pass subscriber and you upgraded to the early access edition, you could be playing Avowed, my most anticipated game this year, the biggest Xbox game coming out this first half of the year. And honestly, I guess technically Doom is probably the biggest game coming out the first half, but for me, it's Avowed. Yeah, it's a big release. So I assume a lot of people are probably playing this game this weekend because Game Pass just makes it so easy to pay that extra couple bucks and get in. And what's really notable about this is that usually it's a $30 upgrade to get that 5-day early access, but in the case of Avowed, it's $25 instead of $30. And what's more, if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you also get a slight discount, so it's $22.50 to play Avowed 5 days early. That's very tantalizing. A $7.50 discount from the usual $30. Had me super tempted to get in, and normally I think I would have. I planned on getting in early on this game because I just am that excited to play it, but the past couple of weekends have kept me so fucking busy. I haven't had any chance to do anything I want to do, which is not really a complaint. It just is what it is. It's just the reality of the situation. And I'm kind of behind on some games I'm playing. So I really want to wrap up the games I'm working on right now, and then I'll get to Avowed next week when hopefully I'm wrapped up and the proper game is released next Tuesday on February the 18th. So if you're someone with cash ready to blow, you could be playing Avowed this Thursday the 13th. Lucky you, I'm sure it's great. And if you're like me and you have some patience or some guilt about games you haven't finished, you will be playing Avowed next week on Tuesday when it comes out on the 18th. Although next Tuesday I'll be doing podcast notes, and Wednesday I'll be doing the podcast. So maybe next Thursday, February 20th, I could be playing Avowed, but let's be honest, I'll be really tired after work and I'll probably just go to bed instead. But maybe next Friday, February 21st, I could be playing Avowed. I mean, y'all will be done with it. You'll have already platinumed the game because it'll have already come out, gotten ported to PlayStation, and you will have gotten the Platinum Trophy. So by that point in time, I'll be really behind. But listen, February 21st, ooh, very much looking forward to it. Avowed, Sid Meier's, you know what these games have in common? They're old news. Let's move on to the mildly amusing stories, you guys. This is the appetizer portion of the podcast. I hope you love duck confit because you're about to be fucking swimming in it when we get into these small news stories that really get us started off for the week. We got E3's coming back. No, just kidding. So this is from VGC. The former organizer of E3 have announced a new event designed to bring together the industry's largest companies. So this isn't really exciting from a consumer perspective, but I really do I support, in theory, the idea of the show. Let's talk about it a little bit. The ESA, or the Entertainment Software Association, have announced the Interactive Innovation Conference, or IICON for short. Or maybe they're just calling it ICON with like two I's. I don't know. A, quote, thought leader summit designed to connect visionaries through thought leaders and innovators from across industries to harness the power of interactive entertainment. The conference will take place in Las Vegas between April 27th and 30th next year, so beginning 2026, and already has support from numerous major companies, including Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, Amazon, Disney, Electronic Arts, Epic, Square, Take-Two, Ubisoft, Warner Bros., etc. Interesting. The ESA says the event will be an opportunity for attendees to gain exclusive access to visionary keynotes, engaging discussions and workshops, and elite networking opportunities with executives shaping the future of entertainment, business, and technology. As well as video game companies, the aim is also to include representatives from film, TV, music, sports, healthcare, education, finance, and an attempt to find ways to for the interactive media of these different sectors to converge. While ESA has previously organized E3 over the years, Econ, I don't know, doesn't appear to be an attempt to replace it. Attendance is only by invitation, and the event appears to focus more on networking and brainstorming than an opportunity to announce new projects or products. So, you know, E3 really started as an event, a trade show for like purchasers and producers to, you know, to shake hands and make deals, right? For like a Walmart to go to this trade show and see all the new games and be like, oh, Sega, your new Sonic game looks really, really good. We really think people are going to be very highly interested in this new Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. We would like to order 8 trillion copies for our Walmart stores because we believe in this game. And the Sega would be like, ha ha ha, you liked our trailer. Here, we will sell you 8 trillion copies. And then Walmart realized the day after the game came out, oh shit, people don't like this game. Let's put it on on rollback, because remember rollback at Walmart when they used to have sales? And they would put it on rollback, and then that's the idea, right? And then it evolved over time into more of like an entertainment spectacle for the fans, and that's how we all know E3. But this is really different in that it's really not meant for like making and shaking deals behind the scenes with the Targets and the Best Buys and the Ubisofts and the EAs. This is a lot more to do with the idea of people networking and making, you know, meeting. It's like, oh, this is Tom, he does netcode, and it's like, oh, this is Jill, she's really good at character design, and the two of them fucking bang out the next Dragon Age game, and it gets less than 1 million copies sold. So this is the idea, is just to have a place for people to network, share ideas, conference together. Could you be a little you know, mean about it and be like, wow, aren't there so many other events kind of like this? Couldn't they just fit something like this at CES? And the answer to that is probably yes, although CES has more or less kicked video games out of the event. So this is kind of like CES in a way, just in that they're like, oh, TV, music, sports. So I guess instead of like consumer electronics, instead of it's like, oh, it's phones and computers and smart glasses, it's like, oh, it's like movie and TV and sports and video games. And I think that's a cool idea. Maybe it does eventually become somewhat of a well, not CES in the sense, well, consumer. Anyway, the idea just being, it's a great idea. It's a great place for companies and different disciplines to connect and work together and learn. And I don't know. I think stuff like that just sounds interesting. Obviously, it's not anything for us to get excited about. They're not going to announce a new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater here, so don't get your hopes up, But nonetheless, cool to see that there's something that ESA is doing in a life without E3. And I just welcome more opportunities for people to get together and network, create, learn, and hopefully bring more cool shit to the world. All right, let's talk about a Minecraft shakeup at Studio Mojang, where Minecraft Studio Mojang is changing studio heads after the current boss, Asa Breeden, has decided to step down. In a statement, Microsoft said on Wednesday that Breeden has made the decision to step down to focus on personal goals outside of work. She's been the studio head since 2023 after joining the company 2 years earlier. As reported by Variety, Microsoft Gaming's Kayleen Walters will take over at Mojang. Currently, Walters is VP and head of franchise development at Microsoft Gaming. Walters will be based in Redmond and travel between Redmond and Stockholm frequently. That's a lot. That's shit travel. Previously, Walters led brand and entertainment for Minecraft before joining Microsoft in 2018. She spent 13 years at Lucasfilm, where she was VP of franchise marketing and integrated planning. Ooh, I'm sure people will love that. Change is never easy, but I have full confidence in this team and its ability to deliver incredible experiences for our players and community, said Microsoft COO Helen Sheng. She said that in an internal memo to Microsoft Peoples and Mojang Peoples. With a strong leadership in place and a clear vision for the future, we are well positioned to tackle the challenges we face in the marketplace with speed and momentum. So this just sounds like someone had a personal reason to leave. Now, there's the other way you can interpret it, which is sometimes when they're like, oh, for personal reasons, this leader is leaving. Sometimes it's like a way of saving face and be like, yo, you're fired, or we want you out of here, but like, we'll be nice about it. It could be that, or it could just be the person's like, hey, I got to step down for personal reasons. I don't know. But nonetheless, it's kind of interesting because it's like, what is next for Minecraft? Minecraft just keeps trucking along. Always selling really well. It seems like they kind of rolled back on this initiatives to do these other Minecraft games like Minecraft Legends and Minecraft Dungeons. And then it's like, I don't know, other than that, Minecraft is really just like, hey, go to the store and buy these different adventure packs and stuff. But for the most part, it's just this like this machine in motion that they're just trying to keep it oiled and keep it running. And I just wonder, like, I wonder if this has something to do with a lack of vision or some kind of direction for Mojang that hasn't panned out the past few years. And now they want to pivot with new leadership and kind of find out what's next for the brand. Because I do feel like with Minecraft being, I don't know, I just feel like compared to like your Fortnites and your other like living service games, Minecraft is one that it's always just trucking along, but it's like, I don't really know what the roadmap or what the plan is for that game. And I just feel like everything else is a little more communicative and straightforward. I don't know. Maybe it's because the nature of Minecraft is just inherently different, but I do wonder if there is some kind of internal what's next for this brand, and that has something to do with this. But in any case, we wish Asa all the best. And we move on to our last appetizer. Listen, we're fat. We need to cut back. We only have 3 appetizers this week. All right. This is Saber Interactive, VGC reporting their work on the Halo Master Chief Collection. So it says, the 2011 remake of Halo Combat Evolved was developed by Saber Interactive because, according to its CEO, he offered to do it for free. So it was not done by 343. It was done by Saber Interactive. Wow, who knew? In the second part of an ongoing interview with Saber CEO and co-founder Matthew Karsh on GameFile, Karsh told journalist Stephen Totillo, formerly of Kotaku, about numerous games Saber had developed in its early days, when it was just making enough money to release each game. He said, quote, the hardest thing about being an independent developer is relying on somebody else, referring to games like Will Rock, Time Shift, and Inversion, all which failed to make the studio royalties for one reason or another. However, when Saber was asked to pitch Microsoft for a chance to remaster the original Halo game, Karsh said that he decided to tell the platform holder that he estimated the cost to make the game would be $0. According to Karsh, he says the Xbox executive was shocked, but Karsh believed that it was the right thing to do for Saber's reputation. He said, quote, I said I'd do it for free because Halo, as he explained, is like the biggest franchise in the world at the time. I said it's like putting a Harvard diploma on your wall. Everyone in the world is going to want to work with you after they've seen that you've worked on that what you've worked on your list includes a Halo game, and it's going to open up doors. So I sucked it up, and I'll do it at a loss. After Xbox said he had to propose some sort of number, Karsh said that he proposed $4 million, assuming no other studio would be able to make such a low bid, mainly because the studio's location, St. Petersburg, Russia, was a very cheap location to work from. Saber got the job, and Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary Edition was released for Xbox 360 in 2011. But according to Karsh, Microsoft, quote, applied certain clauses to the contract to reduce his royalty to zero. Saber's reward would eventually come, albeit in the result that Karsh said was an accident, when the studio was given the task of making a similar remaster of Halo 2, which would eventually become part of the Master Chief Collection. One of the new tasks working on the Master Chief collection was porting the Xbox 360 remaster of Halo Anniversary Edition to the Xbox One, but Karsh said that someone at Microsoft forgot to send a contract for that part of the work until just before the game was released. According to Karsh, he refused to sign a contract unless Microsoft removed the clause that killed the previous Halo Anniversary royalties. Microsoft, who Karsh called the good guys, agreed to modify the contract, and Saber's royalties from this part of the Master Chief Collection amounted to what Karsh said were tens of millions of dollars, allowing them to free themselves from publisher contract work and go on to do what they do today. This is a cool story, just anecdotally, because it's a little bit of games industry history, it's a little bit of Halo history, a little bit of behind the scenes. Because, with Halo, obviously, 343 and Bungie have worked with various partners over the years. Famously, the first Halo game was, of course, ported to PC by Gearbox, the guys that do Borderlands, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And Saber's just one of many teams that's had the opportunity to get their hands on Halo in some form or fashion over the years. And I get it. I think that's such a ballsy move. It's just an interesting story. There's not too much to say about it other than I find these stories so fascinating because it's like so many people in this world are like not risk takers. Like I am not a risk taker. I will play it safe and live a very safe life because I am just anxious and nervous about anything that could go wrong. But it's like crazy to think about being a studio that's like not really making money, going project to project, just trying to do your next game to survive because you're passionate about what you do. And then telling someone like Microsoft, yeah, we'll basically do this shit for free just for the opportunity to get the experience. And then kind of mustering and making it work all these years with basically no money. It's enduring. It's cool. It's just cool to see how like so many companies and people make themselves successful by putting themselves in these like awkward and weird precarious situations, all in the hopes that they kind of crack the egg or crack the nut or whatever or make it big. And it's just, I don't know, it's just an interesting read. But I think about Microsoft having to like trying to not pay these guys and then having to ultimately pay them at the end of the day, just as my Master Chief collection is coming out and bombing and breaking and fucking up people all over Xbox One because that game was a complete disaster upon launch. And I just think about Saber being like, it's not our problem, pay us. But anyway, interesting note nonetheless. Guys, that's it for all of our opening stories or appetizers. We got to move into the main news, but we don't do that without first talking about the games we've been playing for the week. And I don't tell you ever what it is I've been playing if I haven't already told you about what it is I've been eating. And I got one for you. Okay. So Thursday night, my girlfriend's like, hey, my friend is going to come to town and stay with us for a few nights. Is that okay? I'm like, great. I love being told these things with like 24-hour notice. That's awesome. So the good news is, yeah, we had people staying over this weekend. Wasn't the quiet play Xbox on your butt all day weekend like I was hoping for, but it was a nice weekend nonetheless, and it really kicked off with an opportunity to dine at a restaurant I've been very eager to try for quite a while. So let me paint the picture, okay? Imagine, if you will, an American farm in the late 1800s, a man, a woman, a couple kids, maybe just one boy, one girl, in a small farm, couple chickens, couple hens, a cow or two, a horse to help you plow, your wife, and tractor, not a lot of land, but just enough to make it work. And you got yourself, well, what I've just described, what I've just painted the picture in your head is Bob Evans, an American farming legend. So Bob Evans, I don't know what the fuck Bob Evans is, if it really started as a farm or what it is. In fact, for most of my life, I've only known Bob Evans as that brand of microwave mashed potatoes and mac and cheese that you sometimes find at the grocery stores. But when I moved to Florida, I found out Bob Evans has a chain of fast casual eateries. Well, not fast casual, of casual sit-down eateries. Very similar to like a Cracker Barrel. Most similar to a Cracker Barrel, but if not Cracker Barrel, maybe like think Denny's or IHOP. And I've always been curious about trying this place. I don't know anyone who's ever eaten at a Bob Evans. In fact, I don't know if they exist where I'm from, but in Florida, there's a couple of them around. And anytime I've ever asked someone, have you ever been to Bob Evans? They go, no. So I'm assuming this is one of those places where like 75-year-old people go on like a Wednesday morning because they're old. But nonetheless, finally had the opportunity to go here. I was like, yo, y'all just drove here overnight. you're tired, probably need a cup of coffee. And they're like, yeah, you guys want to get brunch? I was like, yeah, but I'm poor, so let's go somewhere real cheap. And they're like, ooh, like Cracker Barrel? I'm like, no, because Cracker Barrel's busy. Let's go to Bob Evans. And they said yes to my surprise. And so I was happy as a pig in shit, dude. I was like, holy crap. Get to go on over the Bob Evans, pretend to be a real American. I got to drive a Chevy pickup truck over there, so I felt real cool and awesome. Let me paint the picture for you. So you walk into a Bob Evans. It is the same like carpeted, kind of clean, but probably really dirty behind the scenes feel you get when you go into like a decent IHOP. So just like an IHOP, but at the front they got a checkout counter with tons of like candles and postcards and coffees and cakes and breads and little things you could buy, trinkets and coffee mugs and souvenirs. It's kind of like a tiny corner crammed version of like the giant gift shop you get when you go to a Cracker Barrel, but it's just like a couple little stands of things. And I'm like, okay, it's cool. They got their thing. They sell their t-shirts. Okay. Let's see how the food is first. Okay. They sit you down. First of all, shout out to Bob Evans. I really like the atmosphere and the ambiance of a Bob Evans because it feels like an IHOP circa 2007, but without, that hasn't been molested yet by modernity with that whole like we need to do like a farm to table Apple store thing where we rip out all the carpet and replace it with fucking what is it, that synthetic tile that people love so much. What is it? It's the fucking fake wood, the laminate, the you know what I'm talking about, the laminate thing, the tile flooring that looks like wood but isn't wood that people love. Ugh. And then you get the gray walls and you get the fucking open space where everything's a table and there's no more booths and it just feels like cold and sterile and like there's all this empty space on all sides of you. I hate it. But you walk into a Bob Evans and oh no, they got the cozy booths and the carpet and everything's kind of well kept and clean despite not being in the best part of town. It's nice. I like Bob Evans. And here's the thing. They got breakfast all day. They got dinner and lunch. But the rule of thumb when you go to a place like an IHOP or Cracker Barrels, don't go for the dinner. Don't go for the cheeseburger or the meatloaf. Go for the breakfast. The breakfast is going to be reliable. Everything else is probably going to be dog shit. So I got a black coffee with a little bit of sugar. I got a plate that came with 2 biscuit sandwiches, one with bacon, egg, and cheese, and one with sausage, egg, and cheese. Those smaller versions, and then some home fries. I'm like, okay, this is a good way to test this. Get a little bit of that breakfast sausage gravy going to dip them in. A little bit of hot sauce. Let's try it out. I'm gonna be honest. There were multiple people at our table who all had the exact same reaction. The reaction was, this tastes like McDonald's. My bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit tasted like the one you get from McDonald's. My girlfriend's friend, she got a fish sandwich for some reason at 11:35 in the morning. Don't ask me why, but she said, hey, this fish sandwich tastes just like the filet of fish from McDonald's. And the overwhelming consensus was everything that you can order here that tastes or that is also available at McDonald's tastes just like McDonald's, which is weird because it's like, why would you pay 20% more to sit down and tip at a restaurant where you can just get McDonald's food? But the beauty is they have other things. Like my girlfriend got like a steak and eggs kind of thing. It was like steak tips and eggs. And they got like the really unique thing is every season they change. They have a complimentary bread they bring out. And this season it's banana bread, which I fucking love banana bread. So that's cool. So I'm like, okay, it's like McDonald's, but like with banana bread, I can get behind that. All in all, I gotta be honest. Oh, wait. And then as we were leaving and checking out, I smelled the candles and looked at the different trinkets they have. Very nice. Very nice. The shirts are shit. The shirts are always shit at these souvenir restaurants. These like these chain restaurants where they have like the little gift shop pop-up thing where it's like, get your kicks on Route 66 Buc-ee's stop station. Or like Cracker Barrel, more like white cracker, and then it's like old grandpa with a cane or something like that. Or like, this fat ass just drank 44 beers at like Duke's Sports Bar on the water. So it's like those kinds of shirts. But the mugs, super cute, super rustic. The banana bread you can buy in a loaf. The candles they have, very nice scents. I like the candles a lot. I very much wanted to buy a candle, but I did not buy a candle. Just gotta say, overall, Bob Evans, I like the atmosphere, I like the tone, I like the vibe. I really love those dated chain restaurant casual eateries that were big, I guess, in the 80s and 90s that are all quote unquote dying but never really dead. I just go for these, and Bob Evans makes the list as one I appreciate from that perspective. But from the food perspective, I was not underwhelmed but just very whelmed. Like, is Cracker Barrel better? Yes. Is IHOP better? Yes. Is Denny's better? Yes. Should you go to Bob Evans? Probably not. But does Bob Evans have a better atmosphere? It's a pretty good one. I like it. I like going there. I like that I was the youngest person in the restaurant by like a lot, minus probably the 17-year-old hostess that sat us. But that was a cool thing. Shout out to Bob Evans. And then when you leave, they have like a little mailbox outside the store. I'm like, oh my God, can you actually mail stuff all the way to 1896 if you put a letter in there? I wonder what would happen if you... we should put... I don't know. It's just interesting. I wonder. Anyway, what am I saying? So Bob Evans... Is it good? Not really. Do I like it? Yeah, I like it. It's like a 5 out of 10 that I just really admire for what it is. It's like the Suicide Squad killed the Justice League of breakfast chain American restaurants. And so for that, I appreciate it. All right, that's it for what I've been eating. You guys, it's time to talk about what it is I've been playing. Speaking of which, Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. I played a little bit of it in my free time, but then my free time was robbed from me very shortly after those 2 hours. And then in between, as I'm going to bed every night, I've just been playing a level here, a level there of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. I am on the last 2 levels of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, so I'm just about wrapped up with it. Here's the thing about this game. I just don't have anything to say about it. Surely by the next time we meet, I'll have long since completed this game and rolled credits. But I have nothing more to say about this game. It is a game that is very much a product of its time. You really see all the game has to offer by the time you're like 3 hours into it. And that's not a bad thing. The weapons in this game are phenomenal. The levels are fun. The story is incomprehensible and ridiculous and silly. And I just really like this game. But it does reach that point where after like 5, 6, 7 chapters where you're just like, okay, I get it. I get the game. Okay. And now you're just skipping cutscenes and button mashing and having fun and just going level through level. And I like something like this. Remember, I'm playing on the easy dumb boy mode, so I'm just kind of breezing through it and having fun. I like something like this every once in a while. It's a nice little palate cleanser, similar to how I played Devil May Cry 5, where I just put it on the easiest setting and just kind of blazed through it in a weekend and had a good time. Something like this is a nice, fun palate cleanser, but I just don't have much more to say about it. And I know when I roll credits, I'll probably have pretty much nothing more to add to it. I very much like it. It very much makes me excited to play Ninja Gaiden 4 when it comes out later this year. But, what I said about it after the first week is really all I had to say about it today. So, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, pretty good game. Highly recommend, especially for Game Pass. It's a really great, I played a couple levels while I was watching hockey using my Logitech G Cloud. Perfect game for that. Absolutely perfect game for that kind of situation. But yeah, that's really it for what I've been playing. It's no Bob Evans, but it'll do. I think that's the famous line in the 12th mission of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. All right, guys, let's take a quick water break and then pop into the main news stories, guys. All right, we are back. Let's start out this week's news by talking about this Sony State of Play. It's Sony's, PlayStation's direct style event they do, where we got a couple trailers and release dates that are relevant to Xbox. So I just put them in no particular order, really. Actually, I kind of favored the Sega stuff first. But let's just go in this order that I've got pasted out here. So one of the first games that we care about here that was shown, Sega have confirmed a full title for the upcoming Shinobi game, and they announced a release date as well. Shinobi Art of Vengeance will be released on August 29th, with players able to pre-order the game now for a 10% discount. The game will be released on Xbox Series, Xbox One, Steam, and Nintendo Switch and PlayStation, of course, as well. Play as Joe Musashi in a 2D action platformer that marks the return of the iconic Shinobi franchise. Sega's description reads, battle challenging enemies and epic bosses in a uniquely hand-drawn world. The game is a collaboration between Sega of Japan and Lizard Cube, the French studio that co-developed Streets of Rage 4. Artistically, quote, Shinobi is a continuation of the creative work of Wonder Boy, The Dragon's Trap, and Streets of Rage 4. Creative director Ben Fickwet said in an interview on PlayStation Blog, we have always been deeply attached to the traditional art and animation, which we believe reflects the perfectly in 2D gameplay. Our influences range from French comics to Japanese anime while trying to keep the Mega Drive Genesis visual aesthetic, which we feel players may remember fondly as well. Although the 13th game in the Shinobi series, Fickwet said Art of Vengeance is mainly inspired by the Mega Drive Genesis games of Revenge of the Shinobi and Shinobi 3. You have the special powers, moves, and even some enemies, stages, and bosses that capture the essence of past Shinobi games. The Bamboo Forest stage, for example, returns in the title, so players familiar with Shinobi will surely feel the nostalgia. I guess that's like their Green Hill Zone. No, this game looks really pretty. I love that Streets of Rage 4 kind of art style they do. Yeah, I forgot about that Wonder Boy or whatever. It's got like that animation style, kind of has like a weird, I don't know, like TV show meets like anime kind of art style. It looks really, really good. This game looks awesome. I don't have much more to say about it. It's an action platform game. It's Shinobi. Shinobi's a game you got to watch 5 seconds of gameplay to get a feel for, again, idea of what it is. But I like these kinds of games, especially when they're not too hard. Some of these games like to get a little cute with the difficulty. But I assume they'll make this one pretty palatable for modern audiences. And I am a modern audience in the terms of I don't like my games too hard. So I definitely want to give this game a go. I'm definitely on a little bit of a high with the ninja shit right now, coming off of Ninja Gaiden Black. So I'd be willing to give this a try. August seems good. Probably a nice little in between from when this Ninja Gaiden 2 and Ninja Gaiden 4 come out. So we'll just keep the ninja shit going all year round. I love it. I want more of it. I love it. I need it. I want some more of it. And there's that Ninja Gaiden 2D game as well. Oh my god, there's so much ninja shit happening. I'm all for it, and I love it. So this game looks cool. It'll probably be a nice $20, $30 game. I don't know how much they're charging for it. Let's see. Shinobi. Oh my god. New game. They don't even have it on here. Art of Vengeance. All right. What is the price? $30. Why is it so easy? Why is Microsoft Copilot so good? Yeah, $30. Not bad. 10% off if you pre-order now. Don't. But yeah, I think this game looks really, really nice. I'm very much looking forward to it. Next up, they showed, this is the one I care about the most. Sega released the first gameplay trailer for Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. The footage shows portals called travel rings, which appear during each race and teleport players to new environments. That seems very inspired by the Sonic movies. Race across land, sea, air, and space, and time in Sonic Racing. In Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, Sega's description reads, warp through travel rings into new dimensions where something new awaits around every twist and turn. Speed to victory, solo or in a team in a variety of offline and online modes, and compete against players from around the world. Build the ultimate machine to match your racing style, unlock gadgets and gain the upper hand, and unleash power-ups items for the win. Wow, they're really going to go for online play again after... I think the last one did pretty poorly with the online matchmaking, but okay. In a post on the official PlayStation blog, Sega American Associate PR Director Talia Piedra said that the travel rings make for a unique gameplay mechanic. Travel rings bring dramatic changes to races, transporting players from one world to a completely new location. The lead racer gets to choose a cross world that the player will be transported to on the second lap, allowing the environment to come alive with various track changes. That is an awesome mechanic. That sounds so fucking cool. Each cross-world offers a theme park-like experience with surprises around every turn, including large monsters, engaging obstacles, and tracks filled with beautiful scenery. Players also will be able to race on land, air, and sea, much like in Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed, and the hoverboards from Sonic Riders will also return. That is also fucking awesome. Sega says the game will feature iconic characters from Sonic's series and the Sega universe, confirming that the game won't be solely restricted to Sonic characters like the previous game, Sonic Team Racing, was. So, looks like they're taking a lot of feedback from Sonic Team Sonic Racing and going back to the Sega and Sonic All-Star Racing formula. So they'll probably have like the Shenmue guy and the fucking Jet Set Radio guys and all that shit, and fucking Samba de Amigo and all this crap, and Space Carrier. So that'd be cool to see all those Sega characters return. Maybe Shinobi will be there, who knows. But this game looks fucking cool. Honestly, that mechanic is so fun. They're like on one track, and then the lead player picks another world, and then they just fucking lap 2 teleport into another map. Fucking awesome. Really exciting. Really keeps the races interesting and fun. And then also the fact that you could do the transforming thing like in the previous games, where it's like now it's a car, now it's a boat, now it's a monster truck, and then they added Sonic Air Riders, like the hoverboards from Sonic Air Riders, into the game. This looks super fucking good, and with each Sonic racing game, I feel like they get more and more refined mechanically. Usually they're done by, not Asobi, but Sumo Digital usually does these. I wonder if they're doing this one as well, but this looks really good. I'm very much excited for this. I love Mario Kart. I think these Sonic games are really good Mario Kart facsimiles, and honestly, they're a little more creative than Mario Kart these days, because I think Mario Kart kind of rests on its laurels, if you ask me. I felt Mario Kart 8, which has been the current Mario Kart for like 14 years at this point, very good, but it's like gimmick of like the hover, like upside down sideways racing, I found to be a pretty underwhelming mechanic. So to me, this sounds like something that's much more exciting and unique and novel. And so I just really look forward to another fun kart racer, because this is a genre that's kind of underserved. And, you know, I love Sonic. So all around, this game looks fucking great. Still no release date, but they are promising it comes out this year. So I assume it will be relatively soon. Maybe they're trying to get out of the way of Grand Theft Auto, because the Venn diagram of Sonic and Grand Theft Auto fans is just, it's too great. It's too great. They don't want to compete. And then next up, we got another trailer and announced release date for Metal Gear Solid Delta, the remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. So this is officially, a leaked trailer. Finally got officially shown at the PlayStation event. The game's coming out August 28th. It'll be PS5 Pro enhanced, so boo boo boo, a little worse on Xbox. Ooh, Xbox is so dumb. They're over. They're done. I don't know. This game looks fine. I stopped watching trailers for it. I'm not going to play this game. I'm not going to feign excitement for it. What I did think was interesting that they're bringing this mode back called Snake vs. Monkey, which was originally in the PS2 version of the game that had Ape Escape characters in it. And, of course, Sony used to be heavily embedded with Konami on Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid was a very PlayStation-centric franchise, but this is the first time that this is, not the first time, but now that this series is pretty multi-platform, bringing this mode back brings a unique obstacle where it's like, well, we can't put Ape Escape on Xbox because that's a PlayStation thing. So for the Xbox players, instead of Ape Escape, this mode's going to have Bomberman, which is, a long-standing IP that Konami happens to own. So it's like, okay, it's a nice little fit there, which I just thought was interesting. It was a nice little touch, but kind of weird. It's just a nice little nod and reminder that, hey, PlayStation's not willing to play nice. Just because Xbox wants to put their shit on PlayStation doesn't mean that PlayStation is willing to share a drop of their special juice with the Xbox audience. So keep that in mind. But I know people are excited about this game. It looks fine. It's not for me. August 28th. I'll get to this game one day. I swear to God. I have so many Metal Gear Solid games I need to play. I've only really ever beaten the first one. All right, guys. Let's talk about the last game shown that I thought was of note. So Supermassive Games, the team that makes the Dark Pictures anthology, and Until Dawn. Why am I blanking on that? The popular PlayStation horror game. So the guys that make Dark Pictures Anthology and The Quarry and Until Dawn, this is their new game. Comes out October 2nd. It will be on Xbox Series consoles and PC via Steam. This looks pretty cool. It's like a sci-fi horror game. So it's still kind of like in their wheelhouse of these choice-based movie-like games. But I really like the aesthetic and the tone of this. It's very Dead Space-like. Actually very Dead Space-like, but there's like this foreign contaminant thing that's mutating people, making them look and behave and act differently, and the people are trying to escape and live on this fucking spaceship thing and get off of it, and all the typical trappings of this space sci-fi trope. But man, oh man, it looks pretty cool. I don't usually go for these games or games made by Supermassive because I don't have a good track record with resonating with their products, but this one looks like their best one so far. Although that said, I did promise to play The Quarry and never got around to it. So don't know that I'll play it, but it does look quite good. And if you're into that kind of thing, I think this is a appropriate game for October 2nd, just a few weeks out from Halloween. Perfect timing. Love it. Looks really good. All right, guys, but that's really it from what was at the PlayStation event that's of note for us. Shout out to Sonic. Let's move forward by talking about this other big story. So there's a Bloomberg report that came out this week that things are not all great at WB Games. So let's get into it a little bit. Two big stories. First one going on saying Warner Bros. Wonder Woman game is years away from release, according to a new report from Bloomberg. Wonder Woman, which is being developed by Monolith Productions, the team that uses the Nemesis system for their acclaimed Lord of the Rings games. The game was announced at the 2021 Game Awards, and since then, nothing's been shown for the project, so it's been 3.5 years. Now, according to Bloomberg, the project was rebooted last year and has switched directors. Quote, one of the company's biggest bets in development, a video game based on Wonder Woman, has struggled to coalesce, according to people familiar with the project. Early last year, it was rebooted and switched directors. The game has already cost more than $100 million, and said people who asked not to be identified discussing non-public information, and is still years away from release, even if it ever even makes it to market. So this game is kind of in development hell. That's really unfortunate to see, especially because I was just wondering, literally days before this story broke, what's next for DC superhero games? Because I'm really on this DC kick. I'm really enjoying watching all these DC shows and movies and cartoons on HBO Max, and really enjoying Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and really looking forward to James Gunn's Superman movie this year. So I was just kind of going on a kick. I'm like, I'm really in a superhero mood, really enjoying all this Marvel and DC stuff, but especially like DC, I'm like really wondering what's next because the roadmap isn't as clear, especially when it comes to games. And so I was like, oh yeah, they're making that Wonder Woman game. I am excited to play that. I wonder what Rocksteady will do next. I wonder if WB Games Montreal is working on another Arkham game. That would be cool. I think they're a really underappreciated developer. So I was really like optimistic and curious about what was next. I was like, what? I feel like this is going to be the year where WB starts talking a lot about what's next. Maybe not Rocksteady, but for the others, whatever. And then this report comes out, And I'm like, damn, this is really disappointing. Apparently WB Games Montreal was working. The guys that do Arkham Origins and Arkham Knights, they were working on a Flash video game that got scrapped, and now they might be working on like a Game of Thrones game, reportedly, which is like, that's so fucking disappointing. Why does WB keep acquiring these good teams and then putting them on shitty IP? Like, oh yeah, you guys made Disney Infinity, fucking Avalanche Software. That's so cool. Now, how about you guys make a Harry Potter game? It's like, oh yeah, you guys made some really great Batman games. How about WB Montreal? You make a Game of Thrones game. It's just, come on, man. I feel like next Rocksteady is going to be forced to reboot Laser Suit Larry or some shit like that. Come on. But it's not all. It gets a little sadder. So according to that report, even further, Rocksteady Studios is working on a Batman game, it's claimed. However, it's claimed that the studio that made the Batman Arkham franchise is going back to the Batman license. But while they're looking to return to Batman for a single-player game, according to people familiar with the timeline, the new project is years away from landing. The publication states Rocksteady's last game, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, famously was a commercial and critical failure. Rocksteady Studios suffered layoffs earlier in the year, making it the second time in recent months the company has undergone job losses. And it was reported last September that numerous Rocksteady employees had been made redundant over the previous month, including QA department being more than halved from 33 to 15 people. So Rocksteady probably working on a Batman game. Good news. Probably many years away, and a lot of people have been let go, and the founders of the team have left, towards the end of the development of Suicide Squad. So what it means to be Rocksteady at this point, I don't know, because it's probably not a team comprised of the guys that made Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City and Arkham Knight, and more so just comprised of a bunch of people that work at a video game studio that happens to be called Rocksteady. So this is a little disappointing. We got a Batman game, understandably so. It's years and years away. Suicide Squad only just came out 1 year ago and just wrapped up its final content drop, about a month ago. So it makes sense that we're years and years off, but man, you would hope that it's like, while we wait many years for Rocksteady to do something with Batman, what are the other DC-centric WB teams working on? And it's like, a Flash game that got canceled. Who knows? Maybe it's a Game of Thrones game. And that Wonder Woman game is in development hell, and it's still many years away, and they're rebooting it. And that's pretty much it. Maybe NetherRealm's working on Injustice 3. It's been a while. It's been like since 2018, so maybe. But I don't want a fighting game. I want like the next, like open world, story driven, third person action fucking game in the DC universe. So this is incredibly disappointing and unfortunate to see. And you got to worry about the future WB games, because they seem like a gaming publisher that's always had like one foot out the door. Like they've always been kind of eager to sell or cash out or give up or license out or do something like that. So I wonder if all this failure plus development hell adds up and kind of gets to them and puts them in a state where they're like, Multiverse has failed, Suicide Squad failed, all these games are failing, all our games are in development hell. Maybe we just throw in the towel. Maybe we just sell to Microsoft or sell to someone else, or maybe we just start licensing out our IP and get out of video game development and publishing altogether. I kind of hope not, because I feel like WB Games has had a propensity to do great stuff and a good track record. But man, they've really kind of dropped the ball in recent years, and that's very unfortunate. And I say that as someone who really liked Gotham Knights, a game that was kind of lambasted, but in my opinion was not that bad. And as a guy who thinks Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a little underappreciated, despite it not being the best use of time and resources from Rocksteady, I still think it was a decent game, all things considered. So just overall, like, really disappointed. It's like, man, that sucks. We're just like gonna have to wait forever to get some nice Batman, Superman, Flash, Justice League, whatever style game. Meanwhile, at least on Marvel, it's like we know we're getting an Iron Man game, we know we're getting that Captain America, Black Panther game, we know we're getting a Blade game, we know we're getting what else? There's one more I'm forgetting, but we Insomniac's probably working on the third Spider-Man. We know we're getting a lot of games over there, but it's like, what's going on with these DC games? Probably not much. And I wonder if WB is like the only reason we're really hanging in right there is because NetherRealm is reliable with their Mortal Kombat games, and because Avalanche kind of struck gold with Hogwarts Legacy, and it was like one of the best selling games of the year 2 years ago, and maybe now it's just time to do more stuff like that. I think that's what they're learning, is like the live service stuff, the open-ended stuff isn't working for them. Go back to the single player stuff, but a lot of these companies just aren't finding value in pursuing that, even if these games are successful. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Personally, I'm a little nervous. I don't think things are great for WB, and I don't think it's a given that they're going to stick it out and start going back to delivering us more games like Batman Arkham Origins and Arkham City and Hogwarts Legacy, and maybe they'll still just triple down and take risks on games like Multiverses and Suicide Squad and stuff like that. So I don't know. Let's see. All right, guys. There's one more. This is like kind of a small one. There's really not much to say about it, but I'll put it here because it's kind of a big deal, I guess, as this becomes less and less a big deal the more it happens. But Microsoft is reportedly bringing Hellblade 2 to PlayStation 5, and it could be doing it sooner rather than later. That's according to Jez Corden from Windows Central, who has a great track record, very reliable source. And he mentioned that Microsoft's plans for Ninja Theory are for it to come to PlayStation pretty soon. It was rumored to be announced at this PlayStation event, but wasn't ultimately. But that, despite that, he still said... It's not an if, it's a when, and he's pretty sure that it will be a sooner rather than later on that when. So, Hellblade 2 coming to Xbox or coming to PlayStation? Yeah, I thought that was always a given. It's just, I don't know. It's like this game just didn't do all that well, so maybe they can extract money from it on PlayStation. But if not, it's like, I don't know, maybe just time for Ninja Theory to move on to the next thing. Although, probably wouldn't be that much work to get this on PlayStation, so probably worth it just to see if you can recoup some more development costs. I don't know. Maybe it's a sunk cost fallacy. I don't fucking know. Maybe it's just time to move on to the next project, Ninja Theory. Please, for the love of God, make another action game. Anyway, guys, that's it for all of our news. Let's wrap up with some important enough news stories. Stories important enough to make the podcast, but not important enough to warrant their own discussions. Little update on Grand Theft Auto 6. Great news. During an investor call during the Q3 earnings, Take-Two CEO says that Grand Theft Auto 6 is still very much on track to release this year. Additionally, a release date has been given for Borderlands 4. The RPG shooter will be released on September 23rd for PC and Xbox. So I know people are excited about that. New trailer. People love Borderlands. That's good for them. Next up, Sonic X Shadow Generations has passed the 2 million copies sold mark, Sega said. That's great. That's actually really great. That's the best-selling Sonic 3D game of all time is 2023's 3.5 million selling Sonic Frontiers, which surpassed Sonic Colors, the previous franchise leader. So that's, I find that hard to believe. I thought Sonic Unleashed sold like 4 or 6 million copies across all platforms, and also like I don't know. I just thought that's so weird. Anyway, but what about the original Sonic Generations? How'd that not? I don't know. And lastly, Football Manager 2025 has officially been canceled, Sports Interactive have announced. Wow. In a statement posted on the official Xbox or Football Manager account on Twitter, the developers stated that the following extensive external discussions are carefully considered with Sega, and they're now shifting their focus on the next game in the series. So they're issuing all kinds of apologies, I think refunds and stuff for people who pre-ordered. So very sad and rare, honestly, for something to get delayed this far out, especially when it was delayed, and then canceled kind of in the last bit of development. So there's a whole statement online where they go pretty blatantly to say, hey, it wasn't up to our standards. We just didn't believe in the project. They'd rather take the tax write-off, I guess, than try and recoup the development costs, I suppose, at this point. But guys, that's going to do it for all of our stories or news and everything. Let's round out the podcast with the final best and last section, the comments, shoutouts. You know what? YouTube.com. You go on over to YouTube.com. The latest episode of the podcast, you drop a comment. You say something nice. You say something mean. But if you say something mean, don't be a piece of shit. You know, when I say something mean, say like, Jesse, you have a dumb taste in video games, and here's why. Don't be like, Jesse, I think it's cool to be racist. Like that. We got away from you people. We're not going to let you back in, okay? All right, let's just, we only have like 3 comments, but they're all long ones, so let's just enjoy them. All right, Mr. Cargo Runner UK, who is running cargo all the way between Australia and the United Kingdom. Can you believe that? Writes in and says, I would disagree that Xbox is like Sega. Gaming is now much more massive and mostly digital. Gaming makes billions of DLC, makes billions on DLC, skins, passes, etc. It is not a war between boxes. It's a war between digital storefronts. Yeah, that's why I worry about Xbox, because if they put all their games on PlayStation, why would anyone spend money on the Xbox storefront? Anyway, these stores make billions, taking cuts from games and DLC shares. The war between these stores is now entering a whole new era where Sega never was a digital store, and so they had a small fraction of the revenue that PlayStation and Xbox will now have to this day. Sega are just a publisher and are now still at the same revenue level that they were at 20 years ago. Meanwhile, all those store holders like Google, Apple, Steam, PlayStation, Xbox have been making multiple billions. As you know, Microsoft now regrets abandoning the Windows Phone, not because they missed the hardware profits, no, but because they realized they threw away a digital store that would have made billions. In some way, if Xbox became a publisher only, then they would go throwing away a digital store that makes them billions. It would be totally stupid of a move. In my opinion, Xbox 100% knows that publishing games on PlayStation will reduce the number of Xbox console players. Therefore, the amount of store customers will go down, and the gambling of the loss of store spending is smaller than the gain from Xbox sales on PlayStation 5. But they can't really see the result of the gamble until the next generation. The next Xbox can't just be a GPU upgrade. There are too few reasons to buy it over PS6. So I think Xbox having a second gamble, the next Xbox generation has to be unique, and the industry breaking is not to attract new customers, but who knows if Xbox will come up with a good idea. It definitely is something I think they will be trying. Maybe an Xbox OS will be free like Android, and they can put it on any box. I agree completely. I think this is exactly what they're doing. We know that the reports are Xbox is working on trying to build this new OS, very PC-like OS that sings harmoniously across Xbox and phones and tablets and PCs and other devices that are an Xbox, part of the marketing pun. And that's great. It's a great way to help spread Game Pass and spread the Xbox ecosystem, make it unique. My thing is, it's like, if the next Xbox is this thing that is a similar experience to Xbox on your Samsung TV and also has the Steam store on it, which they've talked about trying to get, it's just like, where does the opportunity come in for Xbox to make money off the digital storefront? And I guess that will still be the idea, is that, like, you know, you can have Xbox on your Roku stick or whatever, and then log in your Xbox account and buy a game like Halo 7 and then just stream it from your TV. And you can buy digitally and give Xbox money that way. And that's cool and that's good, but it's like you're risking a huge portion of your market by taking a risk by jumping on that risky gamble, and you're making it even worse. You're compounding the issue by then just selling your games on PlayStation, where you make a 70% rip or maybe less, as opposed to a 100% rip from selling your games on your platform, in addition to getting a 30% rip of everyone else's games that get sold on your platform. So I totally agree. I think you're nailing it, and that is ultimately what the next generation of Xbox has to be, is here's why our hardware and our platform and our ecosystem is different. And the only confidence I have in Xbox to even remotely pull this off, and don't get me wrong, I am skeptical. I know there will be another generation of Xbox hardware, but beyond that, I don't know. The only reason I have any hope or believe in Xbox in any way is because the one thing Xbox has always been better than PlayStation at, the one thing Xbox has always been great at overall, is even when they don't have the games, they always have the best platform, the best controller, the best storefront, the best OS, the best features, the most innovative experience. And if there's one thing Xbox and Microsoft know how to do, it's how to build operating systems and software and experiences and just user connectivity and shit. Now, do they know how to overdevelop and create features that end up dying on the vine and not being really relevant and not really taking off? Yeah. But they've also just been really good between Xbox Live and the storefront and this digital ecosystem that they pioneered and ushered in with the original Xbox consoles and DLC, and making these things normalized and arcade games and everything. Like, Xbox really defined what it means to be a modern console, which is really why it sucks so much that they lost all their momentum to PlayStation in the PS4 generation, because everything leading up to that was all created and spearheaded and really done by Microsoft and their visionary approach to what the future of gaming will be. I mean, everything you turned on was just pop in a disc, turn it on, and play the game, up until the Xbox 360 really changed that. So, and even the OG Xbox was really pushing boundaries with like DLC and LAN parties and just everything. I mean, Xbox has always been very innovative. So if someone can do it, or if there's one thing that Xbox can do well to try and save the hardware initiative, it is to create a distinctive and unique platform based on your hardware and your experiences and your services. But at the end of the day, people don't like Xbox, and Xbox isn't big in non-English speaking countries, and it's a losing battle at this point in so many ways. People are just like, oh, isn't that cute? Xbox is giving us all their games on PlayStation, and people just don't care. Indiana Jones comes out, it underperforms. Halo comes out, it's big for a little bit, move on. You know, no matter, Starfield comes out, now we all suddenly hate Bethesda, right? It's just nothing Xbox does really seems to work for them, so it's like they got that going against them, and it's a strong thing going against them. So here's hoping it works out. But I'm very curious to see the next generation. I'm very excited because I think it has the opportunity to be very unique and exciting in a way that Xbox One and Xbox Series X were not. And so from that perspective, pretty stoked to see this next generation of Xbox hardware. All right, Cronky writes in and says, not saying this will happen, but as someone who's worked for several years at a tech giant company, quote unquote, I will say that corporate strategies change super often, so I would not be super surprised for it to be 2 to 3 years that Xbox puts their games on PlayStation and then they backpedal on it later, especially if like Steam Deck type handheld sells well. Just throwing this out there because we've all seen these corporate strategies change. I mean, remember when xCloud was all they talked about and how today it's literally not mentioned? All it takes is for one meeting with an executive to go a different way. I agree with this to a point. The problem is with like putting games from Xbox on PlayStation, even if they want to change the strategy in a year or two, you can't put that genie back in the bottle is the problem. Once Gears and Halo hit PlayStation, it's over. I mean, it's already over, but like it's over once that happens. So if Satya Nadella is like, maybe we should do console exclusives, let's backpedal on it. It's like, no. You don't get to do that. It's over. So that's the problem. It's not that they're taking risks and trying new things. It's that the risks that they're taking, you can't turn back from. Just like Game Pass. It's like, it'd be nice to think about maybe getting rid of Game Pass and going back to the way things were in the Xbox 360 or the Xbox One years, but like you can't put Game Pass back in the bottle. It's either going to take the Xbox brand down with it or it's going to succeed one day. And there's no other option. So that's the problem is that, yes, you're right. Corporate strategies do change all the fucking time. And we've seen that change like a million times in the time Phil Spencer's been in charge of Xbox. But the risk they've taken with Game Pass, with going multi-platform, with all these things has just put them in a situation where it is a point of no return. And xCloud, just as a side note, it is still a big part of the vision. They're all about trying to get the games you already own, not just the ones you get through Game Pass, playable through xCloud. Just remember, they don't call it xCloud anymore. It's just Xbox Cloud Gaming. So I don't know. I mean, that's a huge part of how I engage with Xbox. I cloud stream games on my Logitech G Cloud every fucking week. I use this service all the time. I mean, the main reason why I am an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscriber is because I love the cloud streaming feature. I use it all the time. Now, am I in the minority? Probably, but it's a feature I care about a lot. It's a feature they keep investing in. It's a feature that I think they think is a big part of the Xbox brand going forward. So I don't know. All right, guys, we only have one more comment, and it's from one of the sexiest men alive. He actually just won the Super Bowl. You might think it was the Philadelphia Eagles, but it was actually this man who won the Super Bowl. He and he alone, and that man is Sam Frito Burrito Sexy Mojito. And he writes in and says, glad you went home, Jesse. Sorry about your bagel joint. Colin Moriarty / Xbox. So last week I talked about something about how I love that podcast. I don't know. Very strong topic, Jesse, and I insist we don't dwell on it much. Haha. As someone who believed in Colin and Greg's podcast Beyond, this takes some back. Well, anyway, let's just read. Their stuff resonated with me as a gamer. Colin's stance on Xbox is pretty childish at best, and dysfunctional at worst, in my opinion. For him to say that, why would anyone buy an Xbox, is him charming his audience into not believing Xbox has ever had something to offer. You don't have to read this on the podcast, but I had to say, no, I'm going to read it. We have very few comments this week, so I'm going to read it. But I have to say this. Our gaming lives would suck if Xbox had not persevered and made it through the generations and forward. Sony and PlayStation are actually way less exciting to me than ever before because they snatch deals, build devices, and never fully support them, and let execs without vision run the company. Colin shitting on Xbox probably means that he sees no reason for someone to buy one, his choice, but to look at Xbox having games to release on PlayStation 5 as a reason for Xbox platform being useless is his idiotic nature and Sony deriding great. So you use your platform and years of experience and throw a company under the bus. Because of what? They challenge the structure of what Sony and PlayStation are? Holmes, I'm not buying any of this. I'm not dumb. I'm just jaded. I'm not going to get into this whole console market and what it would be without Microsoft and Xbox. But we know that Sony and Nintendo would release far fewer games and possibly do more damage to the hobby. So maybe I'm wrong. But side note, I'm still playing Burnout Revenge, and the game is really is, as of 2005-06 on 360, as good as it can be. Try and play that on anything, Sony. You will be digging into your closet to realize, oh, my PS2 broke over 13 years ago and the game is still out of print, so you have to comb through some DX old eBay listings, and your dick wet with tire tracks. Xbox games are going to be great on PS5, and Colin already knows it, or maybe he just needs to stop robbing. Maybe we could have not read that last part there, but anyway, basically, I was talking about how I admire Colin Moriarty, who's a PlayStation podcaster, a video game pundit, an ex-IGN employee. I really like his podcast, and I really appreciate a lot of his analysis and takes in the industry. And I'll be in agreement. I don't agree with everything he says, but I'll be in agreement with you, Sanfrito. I disagree with a lot of his analysis on Xbox. I think he way undervalues and underestimates the staying power and the burning support and fandom that's been built around the Xbox ecosystem. And I think he just looks at the numbers, and as someone who's completely detached from that brand and from that ecosystem, I think he just personally doesn't really see the value and projects a little bit of that. But I don't think it comes from a place of like, and not to say that you were saying this, but I don't think it comes from a place of like trying to devalue Xbox or tell people like, oh, it's a stupid investment or whatever. I think it just comes from his lack of experience with the brand, his lack of connection, understanding in an in-depth level of the brand. I mean, he's a PlayStation expert, so Xbox just isn't his main forte, but he does follow it in a a moderate to close kind of way, just from being in the industry and having to know what's going on. But yeah, I mean, I do disagree as well. I think Xbox has way more potential and opportunity to stick around despite their losing hardware sales and overall losing to PlayStation in terms of like the console wars and just earning market share. Yeah, I just think what it is that Xbox will have to shift into something else. And it doesn't mean that they have to be a publisher and give up hardware. I think the hardware can stay. I just think that they're going to take a different approach that will eventually lead to Xbox being unrecognizable from the thing that we all knew it from during its Xbox 360 heyday. Xbox will not be this thing you go to Best Buy and you pick up for $300 and you plug it in your TV and you pop a game in and you just play those Xbox games that you can only get on Xbox, except for the Ubisoft and EA games that you can also get on PlayStation. And you play on Xbox, and if your friend plays on PlayStation, he's gay. And if that's that. It's not going to be that way forever. It's changing in a way that Xbox is kind of redefining how Microsoft views the future of gaming hardware, how people access gaming platforms. And it could blow up in their face and not work out, but it also could very much work out. And it is a precarious and uncertain and somewhat wavering time for Xbox fans. I mean, I don't love everything they're doing. I know I'm going to fucking cringe the day I finally see Halo on PlayStation. It's just going to be a really weird moment for me. I'm not because I don't want PlayStation players to have Halo, but because it's just like, what the fuck is happening? It's just a reality that's hard to accept. It's like, I don't know. It's like fucking, not gonna make that joke. It's nope. It's just weird. And it's just something that a lot of people aren't prepared to see. But I think Xbox, if they play their cards right, if they can really pull off something compelling, I think they have a potential winning audience or a winning formula here. Because if there's one thing that's been learned, I think, from PlayStation and Xbox in recent years, it's that this move to put PlayStation games on PC and Xbox games on PC is that a lot of the PC market is the PC market, and they will play your games if you put them on PC, and they will not put your games if you don't put them there. They're not going to go buy a PlayStation or buy an Xbox to play Halo or Uncharted, but if you put Halo or Uncharted on PC, they might play those games. And I think that's kind of what people are realizing, is that people are kind of built in and dug into their ecosystems. And so it's like, yeah, Xbox can put their games on PlayStation to get PlayStation players to play Xbox games and to make money there. Xbox will put their games on PC to get PC people to play Xbox games because it's a place for them to make money and get engagement and build their ecosystem. And Xbox can keep supporting Xbox because there is an audience of people that want to play Xbox. And so they can kind of have this best of all worlds. And is it cannibalizing to some extent? Are there some people who won't buy an Xbox because their game's on PlayStation? Yes. And same with PC. But I think they believe that people are more bought into the game or the platform or the accessibility and less so the box. And so Xbox is doing that thing Microsoft does sometimes where they're thinking a little too far ahead too soon. And I think they're trying to do the thing that the whole industry will inevitably get to, but maybe a little too soon, or maybe they're ushering it in for everyone else at just the right time. Only time will tell. Xbox One was a little too early to the punch, but Xbox 360 and Xbox OG were just right. So we'll see. And with Xbox really only having a strong foothold in English-speaking territories, it just makes it hard for them. And we know that it's important to them, especially with having mobile teams now and having cloud streaming and xCloud and all these things in Game Pass. They want to get into Asian markets and European markets and get a bigger foothold. They want to get into Africa. They want to get in these other places. But, until they do, they have the future-facing vision, but they're applying it to a very limited part of the market. And that's, I think, a huge obstacle for them to overcome. So they have a lot of work cut out for them. It's just a matter of, will they be able to pull it off? No fucking clue. Could the corporate strategy change dramatically in the next 1 to 2 years? Oh, absolutely. I'm sure it will to some extent. I mean, Microsoft was all about just fucking Azure cloud shit 2 years ago, and now all they care about is fucking Copilot and AI. So I mean, it happens all the time. I'm sure Xbox will be focused on God knows what, fucking Epic Game Store and nudie mags. I don't know. But guys, that's going to do it for all of our comments and therefore all of the show. It's over. Get out of here. It's done. So thank you all for listening as always. Again, be sure to give it a like or subscribe or leave a comment or a review for the podcast. Just help us get the word out, get the engagement up, get the show a little more exposure. I'd appreciate it a lot. But until next week, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you had a good time. A little bit shorter one than usual, but it's kind of a slow news week. Happens sometimes early in the year. We'll be back next week, hopefully to talk a little bit about Avowed. Maybe, probably not. But next week after that, oh yeah. Cannot wait to finally sit down and spend some extensive time with Avowed. Thank Jesus Christ, it's coming soon. But again, until next time, be well, be good. Try Bob Evans at your own risk. I'm not going to go ahead and vouch for it, but I don't think necessarily you'll be disappointed. If you know yourself, trust yourself. But until next week, trust yourself, eat Bob Evans, and power your dreams.